What if Anakin became grandmaster and still fell to the dark side? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Before we begin, let's take a moment to thank our Sith Lords: Aquarius, Danish Dragon, Elizabeth Calvert, Top Hat Gaming, John G, Mike Uchiha, Alt History Uncle, a unique name people are inspired by, Maddie, Steve Belkovec, and Sith Lord 906. Once the meeting ends, Anakin is the first out of the chambers, his footsteps stomping through the halls as he can hardly believe what just happened. Even at the height of his success, the Jedi Council still finds a way to block his path. It is just as Palpatine hoped would happen. As Anakin returns, despondent and angry, he places a comforting hand on his shoulder.
I can feel your frustration, my boy. It is a feeling I know too well. The Senate is no different, and many ambitious heads often clash with me. They will deny me necessary services simply because they cannot have them.
But you have led the Republic phenomenally. How did you do it?
Politics, my dear boy. Many of these people will never obey the rule of law, just like the Jedi. There is only one law they will follow, and it is the rule of politics. You must learn, boy, to achieve your ambition and climb higher. Why stop at this ceremonial council position they have assigned you, when you can become the grandmaster?
Taking him to his quarters, Palpatine begins to instruct his young protege not on the dark side, but in the trickier art of politicking. Anakin is on the back foot, but he shows him how to turn the situation to his advantage. Though the Jedi Council may seem united, Anakin knows it is made up of a diverse group of masters with their ideals and goals. Some might be willing to work with him, others can be manipulated, and some must be removed. Palpatine has Anakin review each of them one by one and identify which master is which. Next, he begins to show Anakin how he can change their opinions and turn the masters to his side. He thinks of each one's vices, secrets, and failings, and how to turn them against them. He finds rivalries and alliances between them and works to sever them. For the next few days, Anakin presents a veneer of acceptance to his new position. To an outsider, it seems like he is dutifully serving the Jedi Order and works only to forward their goals. But underneath, he begins to sow the seeds of doubt. The compassionate Plo Koon, he reminds him how cold and distant Ki-Adi-Mundi is, and how he might alienate the public from them with his politics. To Ki-Adi-Mundi, he questions Yoda's age, reminding him of the Elder Jedi's supposed visions of Qui-Gon and making him question whether he is still fit to serve. The more pacifist CC-Teen questions Mace Windu and whether or not he has become corrupted. He points out how bloodthirsty he has become in the war, and while all were forced to serve, Mace has become partially militant. Effects are not felt immediately, but one by one the cracks begin to show. Anakin integrates himself into secret meetings with individual members, listening to their concerns and leaking them to other members, furthering the distrust. It doesn't help that many of them are out of the temple, making communication and coordination difficult for them. A few members who take notice are Yoda and Obi-Wan, both of which sense the growing unrest within the council and see Anakin as the epicenter of it. They thus try to mitigate their negative effects and instead put the council back on the right track. However, the seeds have already been planted, and an organization used to being closely tied to politics is now enthralled by it. Palpatine secretly helps in the chaos by making the war in Utapau rage worse to prevent Obi-Wan's involvement. This leaves only Yoda to deal with, and Anakin has a trump card. He reveals how Yoda had snuck off from the Jedi Temple after many were concerned with his age and made Anakin cover up for him. Though Yoda claimed to have had an uneventful trip, some Jedi are not convinced. This places him in a difficult position, as he either deceives the Council for nothing, or he is hiding something from them. Many, like Ki-Adi-Mundi and Ajen Kular, are egged on by Anakin and urge Yoda to reveal what information he has found, pointing out how they are in the final days of the war, and all information can be critical. When he refuses, Anakin makes a drastic proposal, that Yoda be asked to step down. A few weeks ago, this would have been impossible to even consider, but now the damage is done, and the seeds of distrust have been planted. The voting is close, with the council split halfway between whether to remove Yoda or not. It falls to Anakin to have the deciding vote, and he gives the Grandmaster a hard look before casting his vote. But at the end of the meeting, Yoda is gone. As he prepares to leave, he glances over at Anakin, half pitying and half warning.
A dangerous threshold you have crossed, young one. Hope you understand that. I do.
With this departure, it leaves the question as to who will replace him. Anakin puts his name forward, pointing out he has not been embroiled in the recent scandals and controversies. He has so far just appeared as a dutiful member of the Order. In truth, this is little more than a formality, as he already has approached several members in secret, presenting himself as a compromise candidate. He wins a majority, much to Mace Windu and Obi-Wan's shock. But as he departs, Obi-Wan contacts him in secret.
Anakin, I don't know what's going on, but I hope you know what you're doing.
What do you mean? I've simply revealed the truth.
Anakin, you're playing a dangerous game. One that can affect the galaxy if you're not careful.
Maybe that's what I want, Master. We're always just sitting in our tower and debating while the galaxy has real problems. It's time we take more action.
Very well. I won't stop you. Just know that with this power, you can unmake the galaxy as easily as fixing it.
Anakin is left seething after this. After everything he's accomplished in a few days, Obi-Wan still doubts him. He still treats him as if he cannot handle power. It makes him even more committed to his path. Thankfully, outside the Jedi Order, his appointment is better received. The public and the clones all support him, knowing Anakin is a respected war hero who dedicated himself to stopping the CIS. In the Senate, he is also respected thanks to Palpatine's support, and the idea that Anakin is more pragmatic than most Jedi. His first act as grandmaster is to strengthen ties with the Chancellor, reaffirming their loyalty to the Republic and showing their commitment to ending the war. The next is to remove council members who Anakin believes might be a detriment to the Jedi's mission. Figures like Mace Windu and Ki-Adi-Mundi are removed due to them being deemed too rigid to serve. Anakin seeks to modernize the Jedi Order, and he suspects that they will be roadblocks to this plan. As he meets with other council members, he affirms his goal to win back the trust of the people by serving them and taking the Jedi away from the war. One way he does that is by refocusing the Jedi's role as peacekeepers. Under Palpatine's suggestion, most Jedi are slowly phased out of the war effort and replaced with clone commanders. Only a handful of exceptionally talented ones remain. The rest are redirected to peacekeeping efforts across the galaxy, giving them a chance to reconnect with the people. As the war comes to an end, there are countless planets to rebuild, refugees to resettle, and economies to rebuild, and the Jedi are made to spearhead this effort. For many, this is a welcome change. After years of war, the chance to build something is welcomed by them, allowing them to reconnect to their roots. Many, especially the younger ones, have suffered from this war and are desperate to find purpose again. Anakin is quick to harness that desperation and redirect it towards helping the galaxy. All the while, the Chancellor continues to influence the young Grandmaster. Rather than show him images of Padme's death, he redirects his attention to the power he possesses. Though Anakin doesn't admit it, he sees this development as a way for him to do something that matters as well. This desire to help leaves him open to Palpatine's plan. He convinces Anakin that their efforts are geared toward rebuilding the galaxy. While the less responsive council members are dealing with the war, Anakin can focus on rebuilding. The Chancellor creates nearly a dozen programs aimed at this effort, all of which the Jedi spearhead. These are efforts to provide jobs for refugees, jumpstart the economies of occupied worlds, and provide supplies for those in need. With these efforts, the Jedi's reputations soar, and Palpatine is able to benefit from them, as do the people. There seems to be little reason to complain, but Yoda and Obi-Wan remain suspicious and begin looking deeper into this. One thing they notice is for many of these projects, the Jedi are only there for the early stages, but soon hand over control to the Chancellor's appointed bureaucrats. Rather than leave, Obi-Wan and Yoda secretly investigate. As Yoda has all but left the Order, he is no longer under their supervision, letting him operate with far less oversight. He spends the next few weeks infiltrating these places to learn about all that is happening, and what he sees is truly shocking. While they might seem like noble endeavors at first, many of these places are fronts for the Chancellor and his allies to benefit themselves and consolidate power. The jobs offered to refugees are either to serve as conscripts in a new army, or menial construction work for new projects and facilities. Those efforts to jumpstart the economy are for corporations friendly to Palpatine to enter resource-rich planets and establish facilities like mining depots. If they aren't to extract wealth, they are to maintain control, as the buildings created are garrisons, bases, and high-security spaceports that restrict travel. All of this is happening with the Jedi's direct approval. Yet, many do not seem to have the problem with this. Those who do, dissidents, protesters, and a few renegade Jedi, are put down. With Anakin as the grandmaster, he can deploy Jedi to these places to help keep the peace, pacifying areas suspected of resisting the Republic's efforts. Any doubts Anakin has about his actions are pushed aside by the Chancellor, who promises that all of this is for the greater good. During these operations, Anakin has an opportunity to indulge in his anger and darker traits. He tells himself that these people are ungrateful for the opportunity they were given, and that he is doing this for the greater good. Truthfully, Anakin also sees little reason to even look further into it. For him, it is as though everything he wants to achieve is within his grasp. Not only has he climbed the ranks of the Jedi Order, reaching its highest position, but now he is making a difference in the galaxy and helping those most in need. Why should he look any deeper? Palpatine makes sure he never can. However, now Obi-Wan and Yoda realize that these are the same issues that the Republic faced before the war, just with a new coat of paint. They try to raise the alarm bells and bring up these issues with the public. When accusations are leveled against the Chancellor, he can turn the tables, saying that this is all to create a strong state and quell unrest. With all of these efforts, they can lay the foundation for further developments. This goes over well with the public, who is just grateful for a bit of peace after the war. They are instead given a harsh rebuke, reminding them that the Jedi are supposed to be part of the Republic, as Anakin's policies to strengthen their ties. The Senate warns them that future dissent may be considered treasonous. But rather than take a step back from politics, Anakin begins efforts to make the Jedi a formal government institute, like Palpatine suggests. By doing this, they will be able to coordinate their plans to a far greater degree. However, Obi-Wan and Yoda's words do not go entirely unheeded, as some Jedi Masters who continue to serve Anakin remember how different it was under Yoda's rule and try to help get him back into power. Some with military command also offer their services, particularly Mace Windu.
We can't deny it any longer. Anakin's influence is twisting the order. He's consolidating power.
His policies are divisive, yes, but a coup, that's dangerous ground. And yet politics is the battleground he's chosen. We may become an instrument of the Senate in name and spirit. If we move openly, we'll be branded as traitors. The Republic would crush us in retaliation.
I've seen his manipulations firsthand. He whispers doubts into every ear, sowing discord among us. The Council is fractured, and it's by his design. But violence isn't the way.
Then what is? Waiting while he turns the Jedi into enforcers for Palpatine's regime?
If we challenge him directly, we risk civil war within the Order. But there might be another way. Politics. If Anakin plays that game, then so can we. We rally the disillusioned, those who still remember what the Jedi stand for. Not through force, but by undermining his authority.
So we play his game. Turn his tactics against him. I like it.
When words alone fail to sway the Senate, the Jedi turn to expose the corruption festering in the systems under Anakin's watch. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda, working from the shadows, gather damning evidence of the Republic's exploitation of war-torn planets. They work with local activist groups and sympathetic senators to expose this corruption. Even Padme joins this effort, trying to talk Anakin down. But as time goes on, he becomes more and more convinced that this is the right way. The only chance to bring peace and security to the galaxy is by controlling it. Seeing this, the Jedi begin to present their findings all over the holonet, revealing refugee labor camps disguised as rehabilitation centers, corporate monopolies stripping worlds of resources, and outer rim worlds being used as cheap labor. They present these findings to the Galactic Senate and the holonet, expecting outrage. Instead, Anakin and Palpatine counter with smooth rhetoric. Anakin stands before the Senate.
These claims are baseless fabrications designed to undermine our progress. The Jedi's role has always been to serve the Republic. If a few dissenters can't see that, perhaps they have forgotten their duty.
The public, wary from war and eager for stability, largely sides with Anakin. His reputation as a war hero eclipses the Jedi's accusations. The Senate, swayed by Palpatine's influence, dismisses the Jedi's protests with only a few vague promises to pacify them. Anakin's response is swift and ruthless. He brands the dissenting Jedi as traitors to the Republic. Jedi who speak out are reassigned to distant, perilous missions, or quietly dismissed. Obi-Wan watches helplessly as his once close friend descends further into tyranny. Desperation gnaws at him. Traditional methods have failed, but he still has one trump card. He had hoped not to reveal it, but now he sees no other choice. With a heavy heart, Obi-Wan compiles recordings, holologs, and private correspondences that detail Anakin's clandestine relationship with Padme. He knows this betrayal will cut deep, but the stakes are too high. He sends the evidence to Anakin's political enemies in the Senate, those who fear the Jedi's growing power and resent Anakin's influence. The scandal explodes across the holonet. Images of Anakin and Padme together, secret communique, visits together, even Anakin and Padme and their newborn children. The revelation shakes the foundations of both the Jedi Order and the Senate. Palpatine attempts damage control, but even his manipulations can't fully contain the fallout. Senators who once supported Anakin begin to question his judgment and loyalty. They demand to know what else he is hiding, and others are quick to point out that Anakin has called for the dismissal of others for lesser offenses. Some even begin to launch smear campaigns on him, ridiculing him for his actions and becoming the symbol of mockery across many circles. The public, though still admiring his heroism, is shocked by this scandal, though they view it more as gossip and personal scandals rather than a true issue. Anakin tries to do damage control, citing the outdated code and how ineffective it has been. But many point out Anakin still swore it and broke the code before he even voiced these concerns. Anakin's fury is boundless. He sees Obi-Wan's betrayal as the ultimate act of treason. Rather than take this betrayal lying down, Anakin locks down the Jedi Temple, starting to purge the Jedi Order of anything deemed loyal to Obi-Wan, or who he suspects of being involved in this attempted coup. However, the Jedi Master is nowhere to be seen as he goes into hiding within the underworld. Palpatine orders an information blackout, but tells Anakin to resolve the crisis as quickly as possible, lest the public begins growing suspicious and turns against him. Word is sent to Mace to gather his forces and liberate the Jedi Temple. Now that public perception is against Anakin for the moment, they have an opportunity to act, and if they depose him quickly, they have an opportunity to wrestle control back to the Jedi Council. The streets of Coruscant tremble as Mace Windu leads a battalion of clones consisting of the best of his 187th Battalion. These troops march through the city, making their way up the temple floor where the small garrison of the 501st has been deployed there. They came under the request of Anakin and his loyalist Jedi. The air crackles with tension as the first shots are fired, igniting a brutal clash between loyalists and Anakin's troops. Mace raises his lightsaber and leads the charge as he and his clones rush up the steps, trying to capture the temple. They advance through the storm of blaster fire while Mace is joined by Obi-Wan. The two protect the clones as they advance up the steps. Meanwhile, Anakin stands at the top of the steps, reflecting their shots and providing cover for his troops. Most of the clones hurry to the courtyard, trying to hold back the assault, leaving the prisons unguarded. Within the temple, a few of the rebellious Jedi waste no time in freeing the prisoners. These Jedi, a mix of Padawans and grizzled masters, all rush to join the fight, adding to the chaos. These reinforcements manage to carry on to the courtyards. They clash and fight within the gardens, and in the halls as Mace and Obi-Wan direct their troops inside. But as they look around, a lightsaber ignites above them, and Anakin appears behind them. They whirl out of the way and face him as they raise their lightsabers at him. Anakin readies his weapon, but then raises his communicator and contacts the Chancellor for help. He asks him for reinforcements, to which Palpatine says that help is on the way. This encouragement is enough for Anakin, who readies his weapon and advances towards them. Mace opens the battle with a savage swing, his lightsaber flashing as he tries to slash at him. The Grandmaster twists from this attack and catches his lightsaber, pushing it back, and then prepares to counter. However, Obi-Wan comes from the side, leaving him barely avoiding the attack. The two then advance and slash their lightsabers at him, but Anakin halts their attack. He takes a deep breath, feeling the anger from the last few days boil over. He thinks of Obi-Wan's betrayal of him and Padme, and then shoves him back. While Obi-Wan stumbles aside, Mace remains standing and ready to fight. He takes a deep breath and whirls at him, raining down a quick series of strikes. Anakin avoids them and meets his attack in kind. The first few attacks force him to slide out of the way, but then slides into the next attack and rams his shoulder against Mace. He throws his full weight and the power of the darkness in his attack. However, Mace's mastery of Vapad allows him to absorb these attacks, and in his next strike it sends Anakin reeling. To his side, Obi-Wan rejoins the attack and strikes low to further unbalance him. One thrust nearly takes him at his knee, but the Grandmaster avoids this, pushing it aside, and slams into Obi-Wan to throw him back. He turns back just as Mace comes behind again and tries to strike from behind. Anakin raises his lightsaber up and halts the attack, leaving them in a battle of wills. Despite Anakin's effort to push back against him, he cannot gain ground as Mace seems only to grow stronger thanks to Vapad. But before he can think about it, Mace counters and whirls him back. His strength throws Anakin back and he narrowly rolls away from the front strike. Mace holds his lightsaber out and advances on him.
You are a fool, Skywalker. You had power only a few could ever hope to achieve, and you squandered it. Spare me, Master Windu. You held membership in the Jedi Council for years, and didn't do a thing with it. At least I fought for what I believed in, and didn't lick the Senate's boots. You of all people are lecturing me on subservience? You become nothing more than the Chancellor's pawn.
His next attack remains powerful, but unsteady. His normally fluid movements have grown wild, and Anakin senses an opportunity. He ducks under the next attack.
You've served the whims of the Senate for decades. You allowed Dooku's rise.
Mace snarls and rushes forward. This time, Anakin clashes his lightsabers against him, and then, suddenly, unleashes his dark energy all at once. With Mace so unbalanced, he struggles to hold back the attack and Anakin closes in, slashing him across the chest. Mace falls. Obi-Wan screams from behind and tries to slash at him. Anakin sidesteps his attack and holds it up.
So, the traitor returns.
I didn't betray you. You betrayed yourself. I had to stop you. Look at what you've become. Look at the destruction you've caused. All this for what? The pursuit of power.
Of peace. So the galaxy does not need to suffer another clone war.
Is that what you tell yourself?
Snarling, the two rush at each other once again. Obi-Wan's lightsaber slashes high, but Anakin ducks underneath it and throws him back against the wall. When he tries to capitalize on it, the older man slides out of reach and slashes Anakin across the waist. He gasps and stumbles, allowing Obi-Wan to slam into him and throw him back. As Anakin falls to the ground, Obi-Wan prepares to finish him off. But suddenly, the sound of movement fills the air, as they see soldiers pushing up the steps wearing the armor of the Coruscant Guard. They rush into the chambers, cutting down Mace's men. Among them, Anakin sees a cloaked figure moving through them, a red lightsaber in his hand as he descends deeper into the council chambers. Obi-Wan takes a moment to watch it, his eyes widening as the chaos unfolds around him. This moment is all Anakin needs as he strikes Obi-Wan across the knee and sends him toppling. Sparing one last glance at his friend, he drives his lightsaber into his chest. Anakin takes a moment to compose himself, staring down and realizing what he's just done. But rather than feel shame, he reminds himself that this is his duty, and he lets out a cry as he hurries to finish the battle. By the time they finish, Anakin finds Palpatine standing in the Jedi Council chambers. There he stands over the ruins of other rebellious masters, like Yoda, Plo Koon, and Kit Fisto. The two share a nod and hurry back to the Senate to get the narrative. With most of the coup leaders dead, they have full control over the narrative, allowing them to paint this as a coup attempt by the Jedi, who are upset at Anakin's reforms and how it might challenge their position. This leads Palpatine to make a bold decision, to implement Anakin's plan and turn the Jedi Order into a new branch of his empire. Now that no one opposes him, movement toward this plan comes quickly. Soon, Anakin becomes Moff of the Imperial Peace Corps and serves as Palpatine's apprentice. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.